The night sky above Vera 9 was silent, too silent. The stars hung like frozen sparks over the black sand dunes, and only the wind dared to whisper through the ruins. A small human beacon blinked weakly in the distance, half buried in alien dust. Ethan Blake dragged his injured leg across the cracked stone floor of what looked like an ancient temple. His spacesuit was torn, his oxygen running low. The mission had failed. The peace conference between Earth and the alien Qian Empire had ended in fire and betrayal. Ships burned in the void. Every friend he had was gone. Now he was alone on a dead world. The air was thin, but he could still hear it. A sound, not wind. A whisper, human. Ethan froze. His pulse raced. The voice was soft and broken, almost like the sound of air leaking through metal. He spun around, raising his damaged plasma torch. The light shook in his hand, cutting through the darkness. "Who's there?" He called, no answer. Just the echo of his voice bouncing off the temple walls. He moved deeper inside. The walls glowed faintly with strange blue symbols, curved lines and dots that seemed to shimmer like living veins. The markings pulsed every few seconds as if they were breathing. His wrist scanner flickered. The symbols weren't random. They were names, 7 of them. Each glowed in a different color. He could barely read the translation. Varin, Veen, Nethra, Zor, Kin, Seraph, Lumi, alien code, he muttered. But why 7? Then he heard it again, closer this time. Human. All 7 have chosen you. Ethan turned fast, heart hammering. The light from his torch landed on a figure, lying in the dust, half covered by stone debris. It was a girl. No, not human. Her skin shimmered like pearl under the dim light, and thin silver lines ran from her temples down her neck. Her long white hair was tangled with dust and blood. Her armor, once golden, was cracked and scorched. Ethan rushed forward and knelt beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her lips moved weakly. Her voice came like a soft breath. "The 7. They have chosen you." Then her eyes opened, bright silver, glowing faintly. Ethan swallowed hard. You're Qian?" She blinked slowly. "Once, but my people are gone." Her body shook with pain. Ethan checked her pulse. It was faint but steady. He looked around. His crash kit was miles away. He had no medical tools, no bandages, but he couldn't leave her. He tore off a strip of fabric from his suit and pressed it against a wound on her arm. The alien blood shimmered like liquid light. "You're bleeding out," he said. "Stay awake." Her gaze flicked to his face. "You're human." "Yeah, last I checked." Something like confusion and sadness crossed her eyes. The prophecy was true. Ethan frowned. Prophecy? She tried to lift her hand but couldn't. 7 daughters. 7 houses. All waiting for the one called Anchor. He didn't understand a word, but the way she said it sent chills down his spine. "The Anchor?" he asked, her eyes closed again. "Human. You are the key." "Key to what?" he said, shaking her shoulder gently. "Hey, stay with me." No answer. Only silence. Ethan looked around the ruin. The air shimmered faintly above her body like heat waves. Something was reacting. His suit sensors blinked red. A strange energy field surrounded her. "Great," he muttered. "Alien magic. Or science. Or both." He dragged her to the corner of the temple, away from the crumbling ceiling. He needed to find shelter before the next storm hit. Vera 9's dust storms could strip a man's skin in minutes. Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon, an alien sound that was more like a growl than a storm. Ethan sat beside her, exhausted. "You said 7. What did that mean?" he whispered. He looked again at the glowing names on the wall. Each symbol pulsed in rhythm with her breathing. And then, suddenly, his own wrist scanner blinked. A small holographic mark appeared on his skin, glowing in the same pattern as the symbols. "What the—" He rubbed it, but it didn't fade. The mark looked like a small circle with 7 stars around it. The air grew colder. He turned toward her again. She was murmuring something in her sleep, words from a language his translator couldn't catch. Her face twisted in pain. Then suddenly her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was shockingly strong. "Listen," she whispered. "They will come for you, because you are chosen." Then her hand fell limp. Ethan stared at her, heart pounding. "Come for me? Who will?" He looked up at the ceiling. The blue light from the walls grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ground trembled faintly beneath him. Far above the ruins, through the broken roof, he saw a faint flash in the sky, like a ship entering orbit. He stood up slowly, breathing hard. "No," he whispered. "It can't be, but it was." A shadow crossed the stars, a massive shape blocking the light. His radio crackled with a strange frequency, a voice not human. "Target located. The anchor lives." Ethan felt his stomach drop. He looked down at the unconscious alien girl, at the glowing mark on his wrist, and at the storm rising beyond the horizon. Whatever had started here was far bigger than him, and as lightning flashed across the ruins, he realized one thing with terrifying clarity. The universe had just chosen him. The storm outside raged like a beast. Lightning tore across the skies of Vera 9, turning the ruins silver and black. The ancient temple groaned with every gust, dust falling from the cracked ceiling. Ethan sat beside the alien girl, watching the faint glow under her skin fade and brighten like a dying flame. He had built machines that could survive in vacuum, fixed engines bigger than houses, but now here he was, trying to keep an alien girl alive with nothing but torn fabric and hope. Her breathing slowed but then steadied again. He leaned closer. "Come on, you can do this," he whispered. The alien's lips parted. Her voice was weak like the last flicker of a candle. "Where am I?" Ethan exhaled in relief. "You're safe for now. You almost died out there." She blinked, trying to focus on his face. Her eyes were silver, too bright, too human in their sadness. "You are the human," she murmured. "From the crashed ship," he nodded. "Yeah, Ethan Blake. Engineer, Earth Alliance." She looked around the temple, the ancient symbols glowing faintly on the walls. Her expression changed from fear to grief. "This place," she whispered. "It belonged to my father," Ethan frowned. "Your father?" She sat up slowly, pain flickering across her face. "General Kareth of the Chien Dominion. My father led the final battle before the fall." Ethan froze. He knew that name. Every soldier in the galaxy did. General Kareth, the one who nearly destroyed Earth before the peace talks. The one who vanished after the war. "You're his daughter," Ethan said quietly. "The daughter of the man who almost wiped us out." Her eyes met his, cold and proud. "He fought for survival. You humans called it war. We called it extinction." The silence between them grew heavy. Only the storm outside dared to speak. Ethan sighed and rubbed his forehead. "Great. So I just saved the daughter of the galaxy's most wanted ghost." But before he could stand, she spoke again. Soft, almost trembling. "You shouldn't have saved me. If they find me with you, they'll kill you too." He looked down at his glowing wrist where the strange mark still pulsed faintly. "Yeah, I think they already know where I am." Her eyes widened. She reached for his arm, fingers tracing the mark. "No, it's true. What's true?" Ethan asked. She looked terrified now, whispering words that sounded like a prayer. "The prophecy of the seven. The anchor has awakened," he frowned. "You keep saying that anchor. What does it even mean?" The alien girl hesitated, as if the words carried weight too heavy for her tongue. Long ago before the war, the Chien ruled 7 great houses. Each house was led by a daughter of power, one born from fire, one from water, one from shadow, one from metal, and so on. My people believed their hearts could only unite when the anchor appeared, a being not from their blood but bound to all of them. She looked into his eyes. "That being is you." Ethan laughed, dry and nervous. "You've got the wrong guy. I fix engines, not empires," but she didn't smile. "Your blood carries the signal. The code of unity. It's why the mark appeared. It's why the 7 will come." He didn't like the way she said will. It sounded like a promise. Ethan stood and paced around the ruins. "Okay, let's say I believe you. Why me? Why a human?" "Because your kind were never part of our war," she said softly. "Because you can stand where we cannot. You are neutral," her tone changed suddenly colder. "And because the 7 once loved a human." He stopped walking. "What?" She looked away. "My father's war began because one of the 7 betrayed him. She chose a human lover over her duty. That love destroyed our world." Ethan's throat went dry. "So you're saying I'm part of a story that already killed billions?" "Yes, fantastic," he muttered. "Can't wait to see how it ends." The alien girl pressed her hand to the floor. The glowing symbols answered her touch, lighting up one by one. A wave of pale blue light washed over the room. Ethan stepped back as shapes appeared, floating orbs showing fragments of memories. He saw 7 alien women standing together under a blazing sun. Behind them, a giant structure rose like a tower of fire and glass. At its center stood a figure, human, wearing an old Earth uniform. The image blurred, then vanished. That was the first anchor, she said quietly. He died. The bloodline vanished until you. Ethan stared at the place where the vision had disappeared. His mind raced. You're saying, I'm connected to that guy? Yes, through centuries of forgotten DNA, the mark proves it. Before he could respond, a sound broke the air, a deep hum that shook the ground. The temple lights dimmed. The storm outside suddenly stopped. She looked up, eyes wide with fear. They're here. Who? Ethan asked, already grabbing his plasma torch. The first of the 7. A beam of white light tore through the clouds outside, landing near the ruins. Dust flew into the air as the earth cracked open. Ethan's scanner went wild. A ship, sleek black alive, hovered above the ruins. From its side, something descended, a figure tall and armored with wings of fire. The alien girl whispered one word, trembling. Tessara. Ethan raised his torch, heart pounding. And who's Tessara? The first daughter, she said, voice shaking. The one who hunts the anchor. A shadow moved in the doorway. A pair of burning eyes appeared in the dark. Ethan took a step back. Oh, great, he muttered. Looks like the welcome party's here. The alien girl's voice broke, filled with dread. Run, human. If she finds you, you'll wish the stars had never chosen you. Outside, thunder cracked again. Not from the sky, but from Tessara's arrival. The hunt had begun. The air outside the ruins burned white. Dust lifted in slow spirals, glowing like ash under the strange light of Tessara's ship. The ground trembled as metal touched stone. Ethan could feel the vibration in his bones. He gripped his broken plasma torch tighter. You said her name was Tessara, he muttered. You're telling me that thing out there is alive? Lyra, the Chen girl, looked terrified. Her silver eyes were fixed on the doorway, her hand clutching her chest where the mark faintly glowed. She's more than alive, she whispered. She's one of the 7, the daughter of fire. Ethan's heart hammered. He peeked through a crack in the wall. Outside, a tall figure walked through the glowing dust. She was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Armor made of red crystal, molten lines running beneath her skin and eyes that flickered like living flames. Her hair floated behind her, glowing gold, moving even without wind. Every step she took left a trail of heat. Tessara of Vorin, Lyra said under her breath. She doesn't forgive. She doesn't forget. The woman's voice echoed across the ruins, deep and sharp like breaking glass. I can feel it. The anchor's pulse. The blood has awakened again. Ethan ducked. She's talking about me. Yes, Lyra whispered. And she's not here to talk. Before he could ask what she meant, Tessara raised her hand. The air shimmered. In an instant, fire erupted from her palm, sweeping across the entrance like a living wave. Stone turned to steam. Ethan threw himself to the ground, pulling Lyra with him. The explosion shook the whole temple. Yeah, he coughed. Definitely not here to talk. When the smoke cleared, Tessara stood in the doorway, her gaze fixed on Ethan. A human, she said with disgust. The galaxy truly has fallen if flesh like yours carries the mark of the 7. Ethan stood up slowly. You've got me confused with someone else. Her eyes narrowed. You think the mark lies? Lyra stepped between them. Stop, Tessara. He doesn't even understand what he is. Tessara's expression turned cold. Then I'll burn the truth into him. She raised her arm again. A spear of fire formed in her hand. Ethan's instincts screamed. He pulled Lyra back just as the spear struck the ground, exploding in a burst of molten rock. The floor cracked, sending debris flying. Run! Lyra shouted. They sprinted through the collapsing corridor. Heat chased them, flames licking the walls. Ethan's boots slipped on the dust as he dragged Lyra toward the exit. Outside, the night sky was burning. Tessara's ship floated above them, releasing drones of light, small orbs that shot down beams of plasma. Ethan raised his wrist screen, activating what was left of his survival gear. The emergency shield flickered to life, weak but enough to deflect one of the beams. This thing won't hold long, he shouted. Lyra turned, her eyes glowing. It doesn't need to. She touched the ground, whispering in the Qian tongue. The old symbols around the temple flared to life again. The earth cracked open, releasing a surge of blue energy that knocked the drones out of the air. The light hit Tessara, throwing her back several steps. Ethan stared in disbelief. "You can do that?" She shook her head weakly. "Not again. It drains too much." Tessara's voice echoed from the flames. "You dare use chin power against me, child?" Lyra's answer was quiet but sharp. "I dare to protect him." The fire around them began to swirl into a storm. Ethan's shield broke. He covered Lyra with his body as the heat closed in. But instead of burning them, the flame suddenly twisted away. The mark on Ethan's wrist glowed, releasing a pulse of white light that cut through Tessara's fire like a blade. Tessara staggered, her flames flickering. Impossible. A human can't wield the bond. Ethan looked down, wide-eyed. The symbol on his wrist now blazed brighter than ever, its 7 points pulsing with life. He felt something moving inside him. Not pain, but power, as if the universe had opened its eyes through his blood. Lyra stared at him, shocked. "You awakened it," she whispered. The first link. Tessara's expression shifted from anger to something strange, fear. She stepped back, her armor hissing. "So it begins again," she said bitterly. "The anchor rises. The 7 will come. But know this, human, when they find you, they will not save you. They will claim you." She raised her hand, and her ship responded, pulling her up in a beam of molten light. The firestorm died as she vanished into the clouds. Silence fell. The ground was cracked and scorched, but somehow Ethan and Lyra were alive. Ethan fell to his knees, breathing hard. What just happened? Lyra looked at him like she was seeing something holy and terrifying at once. "You fought Tessara and lived. That has never happened before." He gave a half smile, half grimace. "Great, I'm sure that'll make her like me more." Lyra didn't laugh. Her gaze drifted toward the stars where Tessara's ship had vanished. "She won't be the last. The others will feel the signal now." Ethan rubbed the glowing mark on his wrist, still pulsing faintly. "You mean the other 6? She nodded slowly. "Yes, each of them will come one by one. Some to help you, others to destroy you." Ethan looked up at the star-filled sky. For the first time, he didn't see beauty, he saw danger. "Then we'd better move," he said, "because if the rest of your friends are anything like her, I'm going to need a miracle just to survive the week." Lyra glanced at him with something like hope. "You may be that miracle, Ethan." The wind carried away the smoke, revealing the open sky again. The stars above flickered, not peaceful anymore, but watching, waiting. And far beyond, across light years of space, 6 other alien queens turned their gaze toward the same glowing signal, the heartbeat of the chosen human, who had just survived fire itself. The hunt had truly begun. The next morning on Vera 9 began with silence. No fire, no thunder, only dust floating like ash under the pale twin suns. Ethan sat near a broken wall, staring at the glowing mark on his wrist. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. Lyra knelt nearby, fixing the broken edge of her golden armor with a strange blue tool. The soft hum filled the ruins. She hadn't spoken since Tessara's attack. Neither had he. Finally, Ethan broke the quiet. "So we almost died again. That's 3 times in 2 days. You sure this is just prophecy stuff and not some cosmic joke?" Lyra didn't look up. "Prophecies are cruel things. They never care what you want." He gave a short laugh. "Yeah, I'm starting to notice that." She stood and faced him, her expression serious. "You need to understand what's happening to you, human. The mark is not a gift, it's a chain." Ethan frowned. "A chain?" Lyra nodded. "It connects you to the 7. Every heartbeat you take now echoes across their worlds." Tessara felt it. "Soon the others will too." He stared at the symbol again. The faint light shimmered with 7 tiny stars, each pulsing in rhythm. "So this thing's basically a galaxy-wide tracking beacon?" "Great." "It's more than that," she said quietly. "It's the code of creation." He blinked. "You're gonna have to explain that one." Lyra looked toward the horizon. "Long before our war, when the Qian Empire was still young, my ancestors built something called the Unity Forge. It was a living machine, powered by emotion and memory. It could bind the blood of different species, creating peace through shared thought." She walked to the glowing symbols on the temple wall, running her fingers along them. But the forge required a bridge, a being who could hold the power of all 7 elements without dying. That bridge was called the anchor. Ethan followed her gaze. "So it's some kind of living key?" Yes, a soul that could connect 7 hearts and one purpose. The first anchor was human. Ethan froze. Human? Wait, you mean my kind was part of this from the start? Lyra nodded. Your ancestor worked with my father's people to build the forge. But when the 7 began to desire power for themselves, the anchor was killed. The forge shattered, the galaxy fell into war, and my father's empire, my home, was destroyed. Ethan rubbed his face. So the first human died because 7 alien queens couldn't agree on how to play nice? Her voice cracked slightly. They were not just queens. They were bound sisters, made from the same core. Each carried one part of creation's power: flame, water, shadow, metal, air, light, and mind. When the anchor died, the balance broke. The 7 turned against each other. She looked at him with sorrow. And now the cycle begins again. With you? Ethan sat down on a piece of fallen stone, trying to process it all. You're saying the whole galaxy might start another war because of me? Yes, she whispered. Or end one if you survive. Yes, she whispered. Or end one if you survive. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. And Tessara? She wanted to kill me because she fears what I can do. No, Lyra said softly. Because she remembers what your kind did. She remembers love and loss. That word made him pause. Love? Lyra hesitated, her silver eyes dimming. One of the 7 fell in love with the first anchor. When he died, she blamed herself. That emotion infected the others. Jealousy, rage, grief. They couldn't control it. They became gods and monsters all at once. Ethan sighed deeply. So emotions broke the galaxy. Perfect. She gave a faint smile. It also saved it once. Before he could respond, the ground trembled. The light from the temple symbols flickered, then dimmed. Lyra's eyes widened. No, not again. Ethan stood alert. Another one? A soft hum filled the air, different from Tessara's fire. Gentle, melodic, almost like singing carried by the wind. The air grew cooler, and mist rolled through the cracks of the ruins. Ethan could smell water and salt like the ocean. Lyra's expression shifted from fear to disbelief. It's too soon. The second one has come. The song grew louder, echoing off the stone walls. Ethan looked toward the entrance. Through the mist, a figure slowly appeared, graceful, moving as if walking on air. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and droplets of water floated around her, forming tiny spirals in the air. When she spoke, her voice sounded like a lullaby wrapped in thunder. So it's true. The anchor breathes again. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, defensive. Stay back, Ariel. The newcomer tilted her head, her expression soft but unreadable. Still protecting ghosts, Lyra? You should have learned by now. Your family's war ended long ago. Ethan's pulse raced. Okay, what's happening now? Lyra didn't look back. That's Ariel of the Veen, she said. The daughter of water. She's not like Tessara, but don't trust her song. Ariel smiled gently. The Qian child's still full of warnings. Tell me, human, does your heart ache when you hear me? Her voice rippled through the air. Ethan felt a wave of calm wash over him, followed by dizziness. His vision blurred. The mark on his wrist started to glow again, brighter this time. Lyra shouted, Stop it. You'll kill him. Ariel sighed. Kill him? No, little soldier. I'm here to awaken him. Ethan gasped as light burst from his wrist, connecting to the mist around him. For a second, he saw images flash before his eyes. Oceans, stars, cities made of glass and waves. He felt Ariel's memories, her loneliness, her endless search for the lost anchor. Then everything went white. When the light faded, Ariel stood before him, smiling sadly. The second bond is made. The anchor awakens one step more. Lyra pulled Ethan back, furious. What have you done to him? Ariel's expression softened. What destiny commands? I've bound him to me, so he'll live long enough to face what's coming. The mist began to fade as she stepped back. 6 more hearts remain, child of Qian. But remember, one of them will betray you all. And with that, she vanished into the fog, leaving behind only the sound of her song. Ethan stood trembling, the mark on his wrist now glowing with 2 points instead of 1. He looked at Lyra, his voice barely a whisper. What did she mean by betrayal? Lyra looked toward the sky, her expression dark. It means the 7 aren't united anymore. One of them doesn't want the anchor to live. One of them wants you dead. Ethan stared at his hand as the twin suns rose behind them. The light caught the dust in the air, turning it golden. He knew then, this was no accident. He was the center of a storm older than humanity itself. The air was heavy with silence after Ariel vanished. The mist she left behind shimmered faintly before fading into nothing, leaving only the scent of salt and rain. Ethan stood there for a long moment staring at his glowing wrist. 2 points of light pulsed now instead of one. One red like fire, one blue like water. He could still hear the echo of her song in his mind. It wasn't words. It was emotion, calm, sorrow, and something he couldn't name. Something that made his chest ache. Lyra broke the silence first. You should not have listened to her. Ethan looked at her. I didn't exactly have a choice, did I? She started singing and my body, he tapped his chest, decided it wanted to glow again. Lyra's silver eyes darkened. That's how she works. Ariel's voice doesn't just speak and it touches the soul. She can plant feelings that aren't yours. Ethan rubbed his temples. Yeah, I definitely got that impression. They packed what little gear remained and moved through the ruins. Veranine's horizon stretched endlessly. Cracked earth, black stone, and the faint shimmer of energy storms in the distance. Lyra led the way toward a deep canyon that glowed faintly from beneath, its light pulsing in rhythm with the marks on Ethan's wrist. As they walked, she finally said, You've made 2 bonds now. That's 2 houses watching you. The others will sense it soon. He gave a dry laugh. So basically the whole galaxy's tuned into my heartbeat. Wonderful. Lyra didn't smile. You joke, but the more bonds you awaken, the less human you remain. The anchor changes with every connection. Ethan stopped walking. Wait, what do you mean less human? She hesitated, then said softly, The anchor was designed to balance the powers of 7 bloodlines. Each bond reshapes you a little. Your body, your mind, even your heart, and will start to mirror the ones you're linked with. He stared at his hand, the twin lights flickering under his skin. So I'm, what, turning into one of them? No, she said. You're becoming something between them. Something that's never existed before. Before he could reply, a sound echoed through the canyon. Faint music carried by the wind. Lyra froze. No, not again. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The melody was haunting, beautiful, almost human. The air thickened with mist once more, and out of it stepped Ariel, barefoot, her translucent gown rippling like liquid. Her eyes glowed a soft turquoise, reflecting Ethan's image back at him. Lyra drew her blade instantly. You said your part. Leave us, Ariel smiled gently. If I wanted to harm you, child, you'd already be a song. Ethan raised his hands. Okay. No fighting. Let's just... But Ariel's gaze locked on him and the words died in his throat. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You feel it, don't you, Anchor? The rhythm between your heart and mine. Ethan felt heat rise in his chest. The mark on his wrist responded, glowing brighter. His heartbeat synced with the faint melody in the air. He forced himself to look away. Whatever this is, turn it off. I can't, it's too strong, her voice softened. That's because it's truth, not illusion. You are feeling what I feel. Lyra stepped between them. You're manipulating him. Ariel's tone sharpened. You speak of manipulation, Child? Your kind used the first anchor as a tool of war. Lyra flinched as if struck. That was not my doing. Yet you carry their blood, Ariel said coldly. Then she turned to Ethan again, her expression changing from anger to something mournful. You see, human, this is why I sang to you. You needed to remember what empathy feels like before the others come. Tessera's fire burns everything, but She placed her hand over her heart. I preserve what burns. Ethan swallowed. You're saying you're helping me? I'm saying I need you, she whispered. And you will need me when the third comes. Her voice isn't made of sound when it's made of shadow. Before Ethan could respond, the ground trembled. Lyra grabbed his arm. She's not lying, she said. The next one is near. Ariel's body began to dissolve into mist again. Remember, human, 7 hearts, 7 choices, but one will betray you. Trust the one who sings, not the one who smiles. Her final words echoed through the canyon as her form vanished completely. The silence that followed was thick with unease. Ethan looked at Lyra. You believe her, don't you? Lyra's jaw tightened. Ariel's words are dangerous, but her warning may be real, he sighed. I'm starting to wish I'd never left Earth. Lyra glanced at the horizon, her expression unreadable. If you hadn't, the galaxy would have found you anyway. You were chosen long before you were born. Ethan shook his head. Chosen by who? But she didn't answer. Her gaze drifted toward the rising mist again, the kind that came before a storm. Hours later, when they set up camp inside an old mining shelter, Ethan finally closed his eyes. Yet even in sleep he could still hear Ariel's song, soft, distant, echoing through his dreams. He saw her standing in a vast ocean of stars, reaching out her hand. Behind her stood shadowed figures, and 6 of them, all watching him. One of them stepped forward cloaked in darkness and whispered something he couldn't understand. Ethan woke up gasping. Lyra looked at him from the corner of the shelter. Another dream? He nodded slowly. They're coming. All of them. She looked away. Then we'll need to be ready for the third. She won't sing, she'll hunt. Ethan glanced down at his wrist. The mark still glowed faintly blue and red, beating like a living heart. The song of water had bound him, but the next would come from shadow. And not all shadows could be reasoned with. And somewhere deep in the darkness between stars, another voice stirred, low whispering. And hungry, the third had heard the call. The third night after Ariel's visit was unnaturally quiet. No wind, no storms. Even Vera 9's insects had gone silent, as if the planet itself held its breath. Ethan sat near the dying campfire, watching the blue and red lights pulsing on his wrist. 2 marks, 2 bonds, and if Lyra was right, 5 more still waiting. He couldn't shake the dream that haunted him. Ariel's song echoing across a sea of stars, and a dark figure standing behind her whispering his name. Lyra crouched nearby, examining her blade. It shimmered faintly with silver light. She looked tired, her pale face marked with lines of worry he hadn't seen before. Lyra, he said softly, you haven't slept since that last storm. She didn't look up. Sleep is a luxury when the universe wants you dead. He forced a small smile. Yeah, I'm getting used to that feeling. Her gaze finally met his. You shouldn't joke, Ethan. The others are moving. Ariel's song has reached every corner of the void. The 7 will come, some drawn by destiny, others by greed. Ethan leaned back, staring at the alien sky. Then I guess we keep running. But Lyra shook her head. No, running won't help. We need to reach the Starforge ruins on the dark side of this world. There my father hid something that can protect the anchor, or destroy him if needed. Ethan raised an eyebrow. That last part didn't sound comforting. Before she could respond, the air around them rippled, like reality itself was bending. The fire flickered blue, then went out. Cold filled the camp. Ethan stood, grabbing his plasma torch. That's not natural, is it? Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. No, it's her. From the darkness beyond the camp, shadows began to move, stretching, twisting, and forming shapes that weren't human or alien. Their bodies were made of smoke and lightless matter, eyes burning faintly purple. Then came the voice, soft, deep, and echoing from everywhere at once. The anchor burns too bright. I came to silence him. Lyra drew her blade. Nethra of the void. Stay back. A figure emerged from the darkness, a tall woman draped in black armor that shimmered like glass. Her skin was pale as frost, her hair dark as space, and her eyes gleamed with cold violet fire. Ethan felt the temperature drop further just by looking at her. Let me guess, he said, forcing calm. You're one of the 7? She tilted her head, studying him like a scientist examining an insect. You are smaller than I imagined, fragile, human. Ethan gritted his teeth. Yeah, nice to meet you too. Nethra's lips curved into a faint smile. Brave words from something that shouldn't exist. Lyra stepped forward. He's the anchor, Nethra. You know what that means? I do. Nethra said, her voice like ice cracking. It means my sisters will fight over him. And when they do, they'll burn the galaxy again. I won't allow that. Without warning, she moved faster than sight. Her hand shot forward, and tendrils of shadow wrapped around Ethan's neck, lifting him off the ground. He gasped, clawing at the invisible grip. Lyra! Lyra swung her sword, slicing through the air. The blade cut one of the tendrils, releasing Ethan, but Nethra barely flinched. You can't protect him, the Shadow Queen said. He's a danger to us all. Ethan hit the ground hard, coughing. The mark on his wrist flared again, this time black and silver light pulsing through his veins. He felt something cold crawl into his mind, whispers, promises, fears. Do you feel it? Nethra said softly. That is your truth. You are not chosen, you are bait. The anchor is meant to bring the seven together, so they can die as one. Lyra's eyes widened. That's a lie. Nethra's smile deepened. Then why did your father create the weapon that kills anchors? Ethan froze. What did she just say? Lyra's face went pale. She's twisting words, Nethra interrupted. Tell him, little Chien. Tell him what your people built after the first anchor fell. Ethan turned to Lyra. What's she talking about? Lyra took a step back. It was long before I was born. My father feared what the anchor's power could do if it fell into the wrong hands. He created something to stop it. Ethan's voice rose. To stop it or to stop me? Before she could answer, the ground erupted. A massive shadow beast rose from the darkness, part machine, part nightmare. It lunged toward them, roaring in silence. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her aside just in time. You can explain later. The creature struck again, claws slashing through stone. Ethan's torch shattered. He rolled aside and landed near a pile of old tech. Instinct kicked in. His engineer's brain saw pieces, tools, energy cells. He snatched a power core, slammed it into his damaged wrist device, and aimed. The device whined. A burst of white light exploded outward, tearing through the shadow creature. Nethra hissed as the light struck her. Her form flickered like static. You're stronger than I expected, she said quietly. But remember this, strength doesn't save anyone. Not in the dark. Then she dissolved into smoke, vanishing completely. The cold lifted. The campfire reignited, weak and trembling. Ethan fell to his knees, breathing hard. So, that was fun. Lyra helped him up, guilt shadowing her face. I should have told you sooner. He looked at her. Told me what? She met his eyes. My father's weapon, the one Nethra spoke of, it's real. And it's hidden inside the Starforge. If we reach it, you'll have a choice, control your power. Or end it, Ethan's hand clenched. End it! You mean kill myself? Lyra looked away. If it saves the galaxy. Maybe. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the stars above answered, their light distant and cold. Ethan finally said, You said the seven were sisters. But if even one of them lies, how do I know which side I'm on? Lyra whispered. You'll know when one of them betrays you. He stared into the darkness where Nethra had vanished, feeling the chill still crawling beneath his skin. The shadows had touched him, and something in him had changed. Above, the stars flickered faintly, like eyes watching, waiting for what came next. The anchor had survived fire and water, but now he carried the mark of shadow. And somewhere in the black between worlds, another figure watched his every move and smiling. The dark side of Vera 9 was a place where even light was afraid to enter. No stars shone there, no sound carried. Only the cold hum of the dead planet's heart echoed beneath its crust. Ethan and Lyra stood before the entrance of the Starforge. It wasn't a forge of fire and metal, as he had imagined. It was a sleeping giant, a colossal structure of glass, stone, and alien veins that pulsed faintly with blue light. It stretched upward, vanishing into darkness. The air smelled like electricity and old sorrow. Lyra's voice was quiet, almost trembling. This is where my father made the first weapon, and where the first anchor died. Ethan looked up at the black sky. So this is it, huh? The end of the road, Lyra turned to him. No, Ethan, it's the beginning of what comes after. He didn't respond. His wrist glowed faintly, now showing 3 lights, fire, water, and shadow. Each pulse carried a different rhythm. Sometimes they clashed, sometimes they harmonized, and sometimes they went silent. It was like carrying 3 storms inside his skin. Lyra placed her hand on the ancient gate. It opened slowly, metal groaning like the earth itself was waking up. Inside lies the core of the forge. It reacts to you, to the anchor's blood. Once you step inside, there's no turning back. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. Turning back stopped being an option the moment Tessera tried to barbecue me. They entered. The halls were endless. Glowing symbols, floating dust, fragments of old machines humming in the air. It felt like walking through time itself. The deeper they went, the stronger the hum became, vibrating through their bones. Then, without warning, Ethan stopped. His chest burned. The mark on his wrist flared violently. Lyra turned. What's wrong? He gasped, holding his arm. They're here. All of them. The air shimmered. One by one, figures appeared, each radiating a different color, a different power. Tessera of fire. her armor glowing red and gold. Ariel of water, surrounded by floating droplets that never fell. Nethra of shadow, silent, her eyes burning violet. And behind them, 4 more forms flickering into being, seraph of metal. Kin of wind, loom of light, and the unseen one, Zor of mind, whose presence alone made the air hum with whispers. Lyra's hand went to her blade. The 7. All here. Ethan stood frozen, surrounded by beings who could erase planets, all looking at him. Tessera spoke first. So this is the human the stars chose. Ariel's voice was calm. He carries our echoes now. He is the bridge, Nethra hissed. He is the trap. Don't you see it? The forge doesn't unite, it consumes, Seraph's metallic voice echoed. The Chien built this to control us. Perhaps it's time to finish what they started. Lyra stepped forward. No, my father tried to save the galaxy, not enslave it. Zor's voice slipped through the air like silk. And yet his creation stands before us, an unsure, frightened human. Ethan clenched his fists. You talk like I'm a weapon. I didn't ask for this. Tessara's eyes burned brighter. Then prove you're not. The ground cracked open. Energy surged from the forge, swirling around Ethan. The marks on his wrist expanded across his body. Glowing veins of fire, water, shadow, and light. His mind filled with memories that weren't his. Galaxies being born, worlds dying, people screaming, laughing, loving. Lyra shouted, Ethan! Don't fight it, balance it. He fell to his knees. Balance? It feels like my blood's on fire. Ariel stepped forward, her voice like the calm before a storm. Let go, human. The anchor doesn't control the 7, he becomes them. He looked up at her. And if I can't? Then the galaxy burns again,